Today, it's CheckPoint with Paul and Heather. This is CheckPoint. Well, ChillPoint. Put Beige in the intro, you cowards. Even though he's not here now. Hey, everybody. Now that intro reminded me why we don't have the sub-notifier sound on for regular CheckPoint.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Yeah. Because it is somewhat distracting. Sorry, let me move over here. Let me actually turn that up a little bit. Let me bring up the sub-notifier.
There's news. There's subs. There's chill.
Yes.
On points.
All of those things.
And more.
All this and more. Coming up in... Wait. All right. Julia Mon, for 59 months, says that is an interesting number.
Margie RG for 22 months in a row. Welcome back.
Pharaoh Bender, 27 for 5 months, says, I'll miss Monday checkpoints, chill points, but best wishes for the new schedule. Thank you.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's moving. Sense of Myth Madness for 30 months. Point checked.
AI Overlord is a new subscriber. Welcome.
Decaped. Decapade. 40 months. Good boy. 1 points. Hello, 3 points.
3 points. Sure. Butts for 16 months.
Andy Krupskiller for 22 months. Chill.
Sluggish Pig for 21 months. Thank you very much.
Cursed Sins is a new subscriber. Welcome.
Cursed Sins is a new subscriber. Welcome.
F.I. Torian, 57 months. Welcome back.
Right. Jonas 4 for 7 months. Thank you very much. Hey, chill, fun. Woo.
Hey, Coffee Princess, 200 bits. Yay, Heather. Yay, Paul.
Yay.
Yay.
15 months. Almost time to start counting on the other foot, says Mattman 257700.
Steel Wolf 171 for 41 months. Welcome back.
Yay.
Yay.
Hey, everybody. Somebody was saying that the stream was a little quiet. Is that the case?
Is it quiet? I mean, I turned my headphones up, but that doesn't tell me anything. My hot water is still too hot.
If only there was some way to make hot water colder. Mirnus for 63 months says, subs are being read out this week. I just want to send my love for my Bay generic evil genius.
Aww.
Thank
Heart
you very
emoji.
much. Yeah. The problem with the hot water, like you can put cold water in to cool it down, but then it kind of dilutes it. So it's not so good.
Yeah. Diluted water with other water is just, it's not the same water.
Manic Pixie Dream Lurker says, my favorite Chill Point host. Thank you very much. And Evil Clock. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
go ahead.
Evil Clock, 28 months. Welcome back.
And Ferguson is a new subscriber.
Oh,
but I've definitely seen you before.
Monster.
I must say that I am disappointed in. It appears that like the whole like Twitch
the
cumulative sub thing
has been kind of.
Well, it seems to work for some situations, but it seems to have caused some problem. I think the problem is around Prime subs. That Prime subs seem to be not being, I don't know, whatever the case, there's something definitely. It doesn't seem that much better than it was before in terms of people who should be not new subscribers being seen as new subscribers. It's just different. Anyway.
Oh, wait, they're right. It is the last Monday, isn't it?
The last Monday?
Yeah, well, it's the 25th, and the new schedule takes effect on the 31st, because we refused to say April 1st. So, technically, CheckPoint wouldn't be next Monday. It would be the Thursday after?
Technically, but I don't... yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I'll have to think about
Although
this.
people will still be coming back from the PAX East at that point. So we'll see how it goes.
We'll figure it out.
You know what will be happening on the 1st, though? That I know.
A joke?
No. It's going to be the start of the long play show that
Oh, right.
I'm doing.
You went with Monday.
And well, Monday is
Monday,
going to be
Wednesday,
is going to
Friday?
be one of my days. Yeah. So on Monday, I'm going to be starting to play Yoshi's Crafted World.
Yeah, and that comes out on like the 29th, so it's like only
Yeah.
going to be a couple days old. Only 60 people will have played through the whole thing before you.
Yeah. So I guess the nice thing about Yoshi's Crafted World is I feel like spoilers are not like a big issue. It's like Yoshi
Okay.
will eat a thing.
Spoilers, Yoshi's in it. The world is made of crafts. There's some doggos.
There's like, although to be fair, like, I don't know, you can't even say that like he's gonna go save the princess because it's not really what Yoshi's thing is. More like some evil guy, but not Bowser, has come around and stolen all the other Yoshis, and you have to go
Usually
save
he
them.
fights like a wizard person.
Like he
At least
usually
in-
he doesn't have like a dedicated bad guy.
Yeah.
It's usually like a new guy in each one.
Woolly World, he fought the wizard Kamek.
Was it comic?
Yeah, Kamek came around and stole all the yarn out of all
Right.
the Yoshis.
Friggin'
It was
comic.
very important that you had to go and get all the yarn. It was like one of the few collectible things where I was like, no, I have to
Yeah.
get them all now.
The yarn in Yoshi's Woolly World was awesome. I'm hoping there'll be like a similar thing in Crafted World, because the yarn in that was like, I'm not usually a collector person in video games, but just the like unlocking. It's like, these are 3 colors of yarn. What possible Yoshi could they come up with this?
You get like cardboard
Oh, it's
outfits
Pants
or something.
Yoshi.
Yeah, Pants Yoshi was funny.
Pants Yoshi was definitely them running out of ideas.
Shy Guy Yoshi with the mask just on his
That was
nose.
awesome. I like Shy Guy
That was
Yoshi.
great.
Pants Yoshi was bullcrap.
The Wii Yoshi.
Yeah, the Yoshi's like
System Yoshis were pretty good.
based on like systems.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. We'll do one more run of subs, and then we'll start on some news, and then maybe we'll do it like between stories. Otherwise, we will never get anywhere. Status 42 for 8 months. Thank you very much.
Monster Squirrel, 52 months, chillin' for 52.
Ooh. Alan S. 49 is a new subscriber.
Mary Cat, also new subscriber.
Also, definitely not a new
Nah.
subscriber.
I've seen them around before.
Exit pursued by bear for 42 months. Hope you get away from that bear.
Mary Cat has cheered with 100 bits for Prime Sub since the date of you
Oh.
resub doesn't match your anniversary. You don't get a message announcement on resub, but you get one on sub anniversary day.
Ah,
Okay.
that just seems unnecessarily confusing.
It sounds like Twitch.
Yeah. And Senaj has cheered with the 111 bits. Thank you very much. All right, so for those of you who don't know, today we're going to be, we call this the chill point, because if you've watched a regular checkpoint, what we do is, we'll, Kathleen and Graham, or Beige, and I will get together and look through all the stories that we've had that have come up during the week, and write some stories for them to read out for you, and we'll record that, and we'll Heather will edit it, and we'll put it online as like CheckPoint, and then afterwards we chill and talk about give you some more background info on the stories, and talk about stories that we looked at but didn't actually use in the episode. So this is that, but without the checkpoint part.
Yeah. This is
We're just
also-
going right to the part that everyone likes,
Yeah, super easy
And-
for me to edit too.
and by everyone I mean me. It's my favorite part.
Because the chill point still goes up on the after show, just on the Loading Ready Live VOD channel. And now that the whole thing is just chill point, I don't have to edit out the recording part.
Right.
So no one has any record of any of the mistakes they ever made.
Yep.
Only perfection goes up on the main channel.
Never any problems.
Never any problems.
Heather
Any
makes sure of
videos
that.
I ever have to delete or re-upload, like that other one that never went live the other day, so no one knows.
Okay. So let's talk about news. And I guess actually, the first thing to talk about, and sort of peripherally related to uploading stuff onto YouTube, is probably the biggest piece of actual news that has come out in the last week. And as is typical of these things, I believe it was announced on like Tuesday or Wednesday last week. So we're coming to this a little late, but it's good. We can. It is I always forget the name of it.
Stadia?
Stadia.
Stadia?
Stadia. I don't know. I guess it's supposed to be a stadium. So Stadia. I don't know. It's Google's new cloud gaming thing that they've announced. Stadia, as in like multiple stadiums, I guess.
That sounds like
one
a scary
stadium,
gaming
two stadias.
So just sport games. That's all that's going on this thing, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
From the video I watched, that's that's different. That's not this one.
So this is one of these things where it's, I was saying to Heather before this that whenever Google announces stuff like this, it's unquestionably a big deal that Google has announced this. And as with a lot of things Google announces, it's a big deal that could change everything in a rather dramatic way, or it could do nothing.
Or worse, it could change everything and then they could leave.
Right.
Which is the one thing that a lot of people are worried
about. That's definitely a concern.
That's a future problem that could happen.
So for those of you who don't know, so Stadia is this idea, Google's new cloud gaming platform. And cloud gaming is something that has been in the pipeline now for maybe almost 10 years, I think.
It's been worked on for a
while. I remember reporting on OnLive back in the ENN days for doing news stuff. And it's a tough nut to crack. The idea is that it's a system where you can have your heavy-duty gaming hardware in a data center somewhere, and your actual the actual thing that's hooked up to your computer or your TV is just like a little viewer, basically.
Yeah, it's like a little box or something, it's the concept is essentially you have a screen. The big computer part that you would need is not in your house.
Right.
It's somewhere else, and it's streaming all that information to you through maybe another device or something that doesn't have all that hardware. So it's doing all the heavy lifting elsewhere and streaming it to you.
Yeah. And so obviously the stumbling block has always been latency on it, right? Because the idea, you've got your controller, you push the jump button on your controller. That signal has to be sent to the data center. The data center goes, okay, jump, and then the video of you jumping gets sent back to you. So, for instance, if they were using, like, say, Twitch streaming technology with, 20 seconds lag or whatever, that would not be appropriate for what they're doing.
There's a lot of games where that would be bad.
If you've seen like any of the Twitch Plays X games, you can see what happens with that kind of situation. So a lot of people have tried this, and it's a tough nut to crack. You need to, in order to make it work properly, you need to have really, really low latency. In order to have really low latency, we're talking you have to have physical closeness.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the point now where we're talking that it's not just that that you need to have faster computers and stuff. You need to actually be physically close because light takes too long, or the electricity through the cables is taking too long to get to the various places. So if there's anybody who can pull that off, Google's got the data centers.
Yeah,
right?
The article said one of the biggest problems was infrastructure. And,
right.
And Google's probably one of the few places that has that.
Maybe Amazon could also pull it off. And I think there have been rumors about them also trying to pull it off. So now the question... So there's the two sort of important aspects of this, right? Which is like, one, technologically speaking, will it actually work? and the results are sort of a marginal yes, I think. Like people have been saying, like they're apparently going for about 200, between like 100 and 250 milliseconds of latency, which depending on the game could be okay. It's more than you get in front of your computer or in front of your console, but in some games that wouldn't be a problem. For games that you're talking about really tight reactions, it wouldn't work. But obviously that can get improved.
Well, I mean, one of the ways they were saying they were working around that was the controller doesn't hook into whatever your computer is or whatever. It also hooks through Wi-Fi to the servers themselves, and they talk like that is helping with the latency, but at the same time, it's still going to require an internet connection that I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think they're saying that the testing they've been doing is with a 25 megabit connection.
Yeah.
Which is not out of the it's not totally out of the way. I mean, that is not that uncommon a speed, but there's a difference between having a 25 megabit connection and actually consistently getting 25 megabit, which various stream drops that we've had on occasion has demonstrated.
There's also the idea, like one of the videos I was watching said that they can do this, but like when they're demoing it, you're seeing one person doing it. If this actually has saturation of, say, 1 million people all using the service at once, that usually can really hurt servers. You know that when you try to upload something to a service and everybody else is using it at the same time.
Right. Or even, Twitch, if when Twitch is, like if you're watching our stream and Twitch is, under a lot of load, the latency between us and you might be, 5 or 10 seconds more than it would be under ideal conditions. For a stream, when you're just watching, that's not that big a deal. If you're playing, it makes the game unplayable if it's like twice as much latency as there is normally.
Well, and they're trying to do stuff like they want to implement this not just as a solo stream thing, but also as like a multiplayer thing where you can be on YouTube and people can join your game easier and all those other things.
So that aspect of it is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because if you think about this, basically what they're doing is it's almost like a telepresence thing, right? Like they're basically, assuming that technology works the way they want it to. So assuming good internet connections and all that stuff. Basically what you're doing is making everybody who's playing a game be playing in a LAN at Google headquarters, right? Everybody who's playing whatever, Counter-Strike or whatever game that they're playing, they are effectively all in the same physical location, which is a big server farm at Google. And this actually becomes very interesting because then you can do something like, say, stream to YouTube, and it's like right there.
Yeah.
And so you're effectively at, like, when you're playing this at home, if you're using the system, your gameplay is effectively already at YouTube. You hit a button, you're now streaming to YouTube. It's not actually using any of your bandwidth, which is quite interesting. So you could be streaming, you could be giving people watching at home a 4K stream, even if you don't have good bandwidth at all, because the actual like game is being played literally at YouTube headquarters, which is very cool. So that has that has interesting implications that I feel like that aspect of it in terms of the cloud gaming thing, hasn't really been implemented before. And so if they can do that, and there's the thing, and by the same token, if everybody is playing on their home systems, on their cloud systems, and you're watching a stream of somebody playing and you want to join up with their stream, you hit a button and it's not connecting over the internet and stuff. You're literally just it's just another console or another computer in the same data center just immediately talking to each other.
Yeah, and it sounds like a really interesting idea. It's just hard to say how well all of that actually works in practice.
Right, exactly.
Is kind of the problem. And they've told us their idea, and they've shown it, and they've said, hey, this is cool. So it's great, because it's like, okay, that's not a rumored thing. That's a thing you're actually working on. It's good to know. But there's still nothing like, is this a subscription service? Are you buying your games, but they're all cloud-based games now? What are the actual details for consumer end of this?
Yeah, from the consumer. So obviously, one would assume that this is, like, the only way that sort of makes sense is as a subscription service, I think.
I mean, they keep spouting, people who talk about it keep spouting the idea that they want to be the Netflix of video games.
Right.
Which would make a subscription service make more sense with that line of thought.
Well, and considering, like, even if it's not a subscription service, it's still a subscription service in the sense that, like, the whole point of the odd thing is that you don't own the physical games.
Yeah.
In any shape or form. So, even if it's not a subscription service, all your games go away if Google's service goes away.
Yep.
Like, there's no way around that part. In the same way that all your iTunes music goes away if iTunes goes away.
Yeah, if iTunes goes down, if the PlayStation digital store goes down and your digital game that you've downloaded goes away, like lots of.
But there's no download though.
Yeah.
So at least with digital stuff, at least with a lot of stores now, like Steam, or whatever, the data is physically on your computer. Mm-hmm. So. I mean, if Steam went away, well, there'd be issues with authentication servers. But fundamentally, assuming that wasn't a problem, the game is still on your computer. You couldn't re-download it, but you would have it. In this case, that's it.
You're just gone.
So you would definitely have to. It would definitely be like I think it would be. It wouldn't make any sense for it not to be a subscription service. And the other aspect of this is that even assuming everything works out the way it's supposed to, technologically, there's the actual, like, business aspect of it where, YouTube already, obviously, has a somewhat shaky track record of, trying to, of interactions between creators and effectively Google.
Yeah, I think we've had some firsthand experience with that.
Yeah. And so I've seen a lot of, people on Twitter or whatever, developers and things, not super stoked about taking that dynamic and now putting it into, like, video game stuff, if it's, like, the same.
Yeah.
Or even, like, if you're talking about from the video game or from the program perspective, the, like, Android store, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same sort. Like, it's very at this point, a lot of Google's stuff has been very kind of Wild West, kind of open, and this is supposedly going to be quite curated, supposedly, which I guess is partially because all the stuff has to actually be running on their systems, so they have a vested interest in making it
any
not
kind
break.
of any kind of online storefront type deal, subscription or not, requires people being able to find the thing they want to play and to know that those things are there. And so, like, even on Netflix, you can have a hard time finding a thing. But Netflix also has that thing that happens where sometimes the because they don't own it, the license for that goes away. Or the license only exists in certain regions.
Right.
Or those things. So I imagine those would also be problems within this
That could
service.
easily happen, yeah, with this service as well. They've also said they have said that no adult. They've said no adult only games, which, of course, like a lot of these things, and like some of the stuff that Steam has been dealing with lately, that there's a pretty big umbrella of games that are adult games, that from some of the games that like done on like Now Kiss or whatever, could be considered adult, even like
Well,
Dream Daddy or something like, or
adult only is a specific
well,
rating.
yeah, but the idea that games that are sort of adult oriented games, versus games that are actually like porn games or games that are have really objectionable material in them. The Google does, shall we say, doesn't have people don't have the confidence of Google's ability to make those really tricky distinctions.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's just hard, regardless of a human being looking at certain games, especially if you don't play the game or you don't know any of the nuances.
Yeah, and I mean it's all of the all of the game portals are having issues dealing with this in various ways. I believe this also this week the Epic Games they've come out and talked about their system too.
Yeah.
And of course Steam has been going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth about how they're treating adult games.
Yeah, and Epic's been very like adamant about how they have real people checking things and doing that sort of thing as well.
Right.
While Steam is very well known for algorithms.
Yeah.
But so is Google.
It's true. That's like
YouTube.
that's literally like Google's thing. And algorithms and YouTube obviously have a lot of issues too. So it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out. And the other thing is, of course, as with a lot of things that Google does, maybe nothing will happen.
Yeah.
Like it'll probably come out, but maybe it'll just be a complete no news.
Well, I mean, the difference in this and say the whole Apple thing that we're also probably going to get into is that Google intends to make games for their platform.
Yeah, I mean, and
so they're backing that, right? Like that's what they've said. So having at least knowing that you have at least one in-house thing that is going to make games for the platform that you are trying to push is a way that helps that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is that theoretically, the Google system is like it's a PC based thing. So like they also are just going to have like AAA titles like Assassin's Creed and whatever. Like anything that runs on like a Windows computer will be able to run on this.
Yeah.
With whatever adjustments, but fundamentally it's a basic thing. But that's actually good to talk about Apple's announcement.
Yeah, that just happened this morning?
This morning, yeah. Apple had a press event this morning where they were announcing it was a services based thing, which made it very uninteresting to me in terms of because they weren't actually announcing any new hardware.
That's fair.
And they weren't even announcing new like software. It was actually
was their only announcement?
No, well, there's a couple of different there's a couple of different services. They're doing an Apple TV thing, like they're actually doing a straight up Netflix competitor.
Oh, okay.
That they've got like Steven Spielberg and all sorts of people. They're putting billions of dollars into new original content.
Surprised that didn't happen sooner. To be honest.
And they're also doing a magazine thing where it's like $10 a month for like 300 magazine subscriptions or something.
Okay.
And then they're doing Apple Arcade, which in the closeness of the announcement to the Google one obviously makes you want to sort of compare them, but in actual fact they're pretty different propositions. Like the Apple Arcade is not a new idea. Like it's basically the same as like PlayStation Plus or any of these other
it's like,
subscription services.
It's like anything else Apple's done, right? Apple Music.
Right.
There's probably other ones.
But the like it's a subscription thing where it's like basically a curated thing of a whole bunch of new and exclusive and interesting, supposedly new games that you can subscribe to it. They haven't said how much it'll be.
Yeah. And
you get access to. It's gonna start with like 100 games. It's gonna be for iPhone, iPad, Mac, presumably for Apple TV at some point.
Was in there as well. Yeah. They had one game on their list, which was one that I know got announced recently that I'm actually interested in, but because it's not made by them, I'm hoping it just shows up on a console that I have.
Yeah. Well, this is...
Because I don't want to really subscribe to their service.
So, I mean, the biggest thing about it to me is that it's supposedly very... they've talked about lots of sort of exclusives and, like, not first party, but, like, games that they're basically paying for the development of.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an interesting, like, it's a tough road to go. Like, it's almost like the Nintendo model where it's like you've got to have, like, unless you've got, like, Nintendo is good enough that they have the first party titles that sell their systems.
Mm-hmm.
And there's third party titles as well, but the Nintendo exclusives are what sell Nintendo systems. And so, I mean, if Apple can do that as well, then that'll be interesting.
I mean, they're also selling a subscription service, which can be easier for some people. Like, if you already have the hardware and maybe you're not really interested in doing a lot of console gaming, but you did do some PC gaming, and now you've got this. I can see people, like, trying it out.
Yeah. And the idea of, like...
I just don't want to.
And, I play lots of games on my iPad or iPhone or whatever, but not... It would be interesting to see what actually comes out of it. I'm not totally... Like, I still, as somebody who plays a lot of video games, I'm not that... I find the iPhone and the iPad are only good for a pretty small subset of games. There's certain types of games that can work quite well on it, but there's a lot of games that do not work.
Yeah.
And I'm in the sense that I don't think this is going to be able to be a thing that is sort of, I don't know. I know for personally, this would not be it couldn't be. I don't think I could, like, get a subscription to this, and that would be all the gaming I would need. Because I feel like the kinds of games that are going to come out of it are probably not. Presumably they're going to be mostly mobile games because that's the sort of focus.
I mean, that's definitely going to be where their start is, right? Anything large. But there's been a lot of games that weren't mobile before that have been going mobile, like Stardew Valley is on that now, and I think there's a couple others that I could think of that I've seen that I've been like, oh yeah, I have that game, I'm not buying it again.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that too, definitely. But anyway, we'll see. Again, this is one, they've announced it, but they haven't actually, and they've sort of done like a teaser reel. But they ate part of my beard. I apologize.
You know you're not supposed to eat on stream.
But they've done like a teaser reel, but they haven't really like announced any games in particular. Although there was a Sonic game in the teaser reel.
There was
Or
also,
at least Sonic was in the teaser.
Sonic was in the teaser reel.
Maybe
They also
he's
showed,
like in a Endless Runner or something. We don't know.
Oceanhorn 2, which looked a lot like it might be trying to be Breath of the Wild. There was also there was like, I think the one that I want to play that was in there was Sayonara Hearts. I think that's what it was called. But I'm still hoping that's not just going to be exclusively on that.
All right.
I have too many subscription things I already belong to, and I'd really rather not do another one.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem, right? A lot of obviously, there's obvious reasons why the subscription model is great for the people providing the subscriptions. But yeah, at a certain point, there's only so many subscriptions you want as a consumer before you start going like, I'm paying enough to actually be like just buying new games every month. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I had the impression they were going to do game stream as well. No. From what I understand, it's not game streaming at all. It's just it's just a pretty standard or the sort of system that we already know, the sort of download stuff. And it'll be apparently it's going to be like iOS and iPad to begin with, and then also for Mac, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to play all those iOS games on your Mac.
I do wonder if they will have a thing where it's like, we have some games you can't play on your iOS devices because they're restricted to Mac. I could see them going that route eventually.
Because there's the other thing where like there's a few games for like Apple TV, but the problem with the Apple TV is that the actual there isn't like a controller for it.
I mean, they tried to do that. Wasn't the last Apple TV announcement? They tried to show the controller had like motion controls to it, so they had like some games they sort of showed off, and then they kind of never talked about it.
It's not good though. Yeah. They haven't really the Apple TV as a gaming device has definitely not.
I mean, that's clearly not their.
Yeah, I think it's basically at the level of like flip phone cell phones in the sense of it's like, hey, it's a gaming device, you can play Bejeweled on it.
Oh man, I used to browse internet forums with my old flip phone.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was not very readable, but I was bored at work a lot.
Alrighty. So speaking of, there's a lot of I guess because of GDC and stuff, there's lots of video game actual selling news. So we've I think we've mentioned this before, how at GameStop and various brick and mortar game retailers, for the longest time, in addition to point cards for the various systems, so you can spend your real money on getting fake money for your system, like Nintendo points or
oh yeah, like little loyalty
program or the points that you then use to buy thing. Although most of them have now switched over to actual money, which is nice. But if you want to put money into your PlayStation wallet, you can go and buy a card, and then you don't have to associate a credit card with your account, that kind of stuff.
I mean, not everybody has a credit card.
In addition to these, a lot of these brick and mortar retailers have also been selling digital downloads, which is really stupid. Basically, you buy a box, and inside the box is a card, and on the card is a key, and you type the key in, and then if you can't.
Well, if you can't use
under
18, you can't get a credit card. So it makes sense to me, as long as it's very obvious that what you're buying is not a cartridge or a disc.
Right, they've
what
had
a
that
digital
problem, too.
download. Because some places don't do that, and then that's crap.
Yes. Or the other thing that's actually been happened a few times lately is there'll be like special editions of games
Oh yeah,
that come with like the previous version or whatever, and then it only is when the game is actually released that it's revealed that the special edition is the thing that it comes with is just the download code. So anyway, Sony's decided to put the kibosh to that.
Take them all away.
So you can still buy point cards or money cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems like a thing they.
But
would
the idea of buying either they also sell DLC too, which is
okay.
up until now. So the idea of buying a download code, the code for a download game at a brick and mortar retailer, at least for Sony, is going away. They're deciding that they've specifically talked about GameStop, but also other retailers. They're not going to be doing this anymore. If you want to buy a download game, you have to actually do it through the PlayStation Store, or I guess you could buy the cards that give you money that you could then go and add into the PlayStation Store and do it that way.
You're not going to buy a specific code.
So apparently, so frankly, I'm fine with this. I guess maybe I'm have my having a credit card privilege or whatever, but it just seemed like such a vast awkward thing of like the idea of buying a code that had the number on it in a box and then doing the thing.
The box thing. Yeah,
It's like
I kind of just wonder if it's more of a thing.
It's just like taking all the bad parts about having a physical game, as in like having to go to the store, having them run out of inventory, having to have a thing that you have to make sure you keep track of. All the bad parts about it without the actual good part about having a physical release.
Having to be asked if you want. I mean, I.
Do you want your gameplay guarantee in case your card?
I can't imagine they actually give you gameplay guarantee. No, you know what? I can totally imagine them still asking about it, even though they shouldn't.
Although, to be fair, when I got like a dollar card when I was buying the Last Guardian to buy the Last Guardian, because at that point Sony was not able to accept my credit card for some stupid reason in their online system. So I went and bought a point card, and in the course of scratching out the thing to get the number, I messed it up and I actually scratched off the number.
No. Like
partially. So in that case, a gameplay guarantee on that, it's like, look, it's scratched. Please replace it. Luckily, I sent a picture of it to like Sony tech support, and there was enough of the number there that they could verify that it was a number that hadn't actually already been.
I actually wonder if it has more to do with shelf space, like because if you have a box taking up what is like probably shelf space that is kind of designated towards your games, and it's just codes, maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want other product taking up that space.
Yeah. I always remember, the whole like taking digital stuff and making a physical version. I always remember one time I was traveling, and I was at a hotel, and I wanted to use the internet. This was pre-iPhone era, so it wasn't just like give me the Wi-Fi password. I had to actually like buy. Well, no, I had to actually like buy time. Like I was like I wanted to use one in their internet cafe or whatever.
Oh,
right?
Yes, okay.
They're like your thing, and I couldn't.
I'm glad I don't have to do that ever again.
Not because the computers were there and the internet was there, but they had there was like a code that you got. You like put in money and you got like a code. They give you like 15 minutes of internet, and the box that delivered those codes had run out of numbers. And so they could no longer sell internet. There was no problem with the internet. The internet was still there, and I had money. They had internet.
They wanted your money.
They wanted my money. I wanted to give them money, but they couldn't because the box that gave out the codes had run out of numbers.
Uh-huh.
It was silly.
Wow, that is...
But that's the kind of thing that you get into when you be like, the idea, like, I would not be surprised if GameStop has done, like, pre-orders on the, like, code numbers.
Oh, sure. Why not?
Right?
Absolutely. They probably have.
And the idea that they could run out of inventory when they could literally just, like, email new ones.
Well, that was a thing that was going on, because during the Mario Day, whatever, at least in the States, they had sales and stuff going on the digital codes on, like, Best Buy, and they ran out of stock on, like, the first day or something. Yeah. It's because it's got a code, they only have so much of it.
Like, you could do pre-orders in Steam, but they don't run out. And the number of people who pre-order the game on, like, Steam doesn't have inventory.
Well, no, because they're the actual storefront at that point.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. What else we got going on here? Oh, new Switch
Rumors. I just specifically want us to say rumor.
Rumors.
Cause
there are definitely new Switch consoles coming out. Heather said so.
I did not say that. they in the Wall Street Journal article itself, they specifically say they are unnamed sources in, like, production and devs, and because of that, you can't confirm this. And when they say things like, "Oh, they'll probably tell us what it is at E3," I'm like, "Yeah, you think? Probably. I mean, that's a pretty good guess."
Yeah.
It's a pretty good guess. What I do like, though, is so we've had for the longest time, we actually had for quite a while a Switch Mini kind of rumor going around that be, like, more portable, would have less features,
right,
would be
like
cheaper.
A cheaper Switch, yeah.
And I've seen people talk about the idea of a Plus or Pro version, but that's more always been speculation rather than rumor.
Yeah, or I guess it would be wishful thinking.
Yeah, or what you expect, like, the next iteration of that thing to be. And the one thing I kind of like about this rumor is it's like Nintendo went, well, why not both? And like, yeah, I mean, they could do both.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The rumor's been going around for a while. I believe the earlier rumor also said that as early as summer was a prediction, but
which is
I don't know.
Coincidentally,
I don't know that I care until they actually tell us anything.
Yeah, I mean, if they say it like as early as summer, I mean, which is coincidentally, the sort of 4 to 6 month window that you can basically say anything will happen. And
I mean,
who knows?
I also read rumors on a Twitter account that went live that this dude said that we were getting the next Nintendo Direct, we were getting like April 15th, and it was going to tell us all about Animal Crossing and all these other things. And just like, cool, that sounds great. I hope so. Someone will tell me once April comes around, I guess.
As somebody who is, shall we say, a Switch aficionado, would you call yourself? Yeah, like
sure.
You're somebody who plays a lot of Switch.
I play more Switch than my husband, and everyone thinks he's a huge Nintendo fanboy. So.
All right. Would a Pro version of the Switch be interesting to you?
No.
No?
I mean, it'd be cool to get, like, better battery life and, I guess, like, maybe a speed bump or something, but honestly, the way they've done their iterations for Nintendo has always been kind of it's there's maybe a couple exclusive things, but nothing that would convince me to buy another thing. I'd be kind of, if Beach played more of the Switch, I would certainly look at doing it just so that he wouldn't take up the Switch while I'm playing the Switch.
Oh, so you actually just get a second Switch.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that, but
I mean, maybe the light one would be the one.
it's actually what happened with our 3DSs. I got the new 3DS XL eventually because they put out a Zelda one and I couldn't resist it, so I gave him my other Zelda 3DS, which has a better design, but at least it's still in the family.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love watching because of course what's interesting about the Switch is that I guess because it's been so successful, Nintendo hasn't actually dropped price on it almost at all.
No.
Which is funny because with all the revisions and things that the PS4 and the Xbox One have gone through, they're now the same. Like, they keep dropping the price of the PS4 and the Xbox One, and Nintendo keeps keeping it the same. And so now you have this bizarre situation where, like, an Xbox One or PS4 are objectively a much more powerful system than the Switch, like in every metric.
Oh, sure.
And yet they're effectively the same price because that's Nintendo knows how to do it.
Like, if Nintendo came out with a thing and they were like, hey, we made a more portable Switch that I think the article says that it would have less features, like they wouldn't put in the
like no rumble or something.
The rumble. Some people speculated the Joy-Cons just wouldn't be detachable, other things like that. And I'm like, sure, I could see them finally being like, hey, we're getting rid of the 3DS now. We're gonna stop pretending that we're making games for it, and we're bringing out this thing which is cheaper. And a lot of people want that because they want Nintendo to stop putting games on the 3DS and on the Switch, and they just want stuff on the Switch now. So I could see them doing that. I could see them being like, hey, we have a new iteration, it's the new thing, we're dropping the regular version, and now we just have this one. I honestly can't see them having 3 different models. I can see them having 2, but not 3.
Yeah, I would guess that, that this new one, they would replace the one with the 2 if they were doing 2.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have 3. Yeah, 3 would be weird.
I don't think they would have 3.
The non-detachable joysticks would be weird.
That's a thing people have suggested because then you have one body type, right? So it makes the manufacturing process of that cheaper.
So, and I guess that would be basically turning it into a dedicated mobile thing rather than like that would almost be taking away the like plugging into a TV
or
aspect.
maybe they leave that and they just do what they've done in, I believe Japan has a dockless Switch that they sell, which I'm a little surprised they haven't done out here.
Like it's just without, you just sell it without the dock.
Without the dock, because it brings the price down. But if you are in a household where maybe a couple people want to switch, you only really need the one dock maybe at a time. Or if you do want a dock later, you can just buy that separately.
Right, which I think also here you can't buy docks separately.
No, you can.
And you can? Oh, okay.
You can buy the dock separately here. You just can't buy the Switch portion separately. The dock is expensive on its own. But
considering the dock is mostly just a plastic shell, like there's hardly any actual electronics in the dock.
Do a different kind of dock. I've actually seen people do where they take their dock and they put the internals in.
Oh, like a new 3D printed thing?
A different 3D printed thing that doesn't have the front covering the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Because people have gotten their screens scratched by putting it back.
Like, I appreciate the sort of toasterness of how it works, but yeah.
I am a fan of toast, yes.
The practicality. That would be what would be great is if you put it in, and then if you have to do something with the mobile thing, it actually like goes boop, pops it up. I mean, that would be terrible because then it would like fall off.
That would be bad. That would be so bad in so many
ways. But it would be amusing to me.
Only if we can get it to like, not like just pop it slightly up, but like, some of those cartoons where like the toast literally just flies into the air so you can grab it.
Yeah.
You gotta get your timing down. But I feel like I'd feel a little bit better about it that way.
As a kid, I was always disappointed in the amount of spring action my toaster got. I guess you could probably like, turn it up.
Can you overclock a toaster to give it more spring action?
Oh, I'm sure you
I
could.
feel like we should talk to Ian
Yeah.
about our toast problems and getting those fixed.
Back in the day, if anybody ever had a zip drive,
Mm-hmm.
zip drives were notorious for being way the springs in them were way over tightened.
Okay.
And so you would like eject and would go like boom across the room. It was great, but also terrible. Possibly part of the reason why zip disks were also notorious for failing. All
what
right.
else we got?
Oh, hey. Do you like Elder Scrolls Morrowind?
No.
You were supposed to say
Yes, absolutely. I love that game. It's my jam.
Well,
I've never played any other game in the world.
You're in luck because you can get it for free. Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind is free today.
Just today?
Yeah, just today.
Today is March 25th. If you're
as
watching,
in March 25th. If you're watching this not today, then
you're out of luck. Sorry.
But yeah, on March 25th, you can. There's a code TES 25th Morrowind. You have to like log into Bethesda. You have to have a Bethesda.net account. But
It's like teeth, but with one less E and an S and a 25 in the middle. Now I can only see the word teeth. Teeth Morrowind. 2020.
And yeah, MTV CDM
Hopefully
has
put
the
that
link has the link there. But check it out. That is not so much news as just kind of a public service announcement.
A very timed one.
Mm-hmm. So let's see here. Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, there's some new stuff.
Yeah, they're just about to release the newest expansion, which is called Shadowbringers.
Yeah, I watched a 6-minute video thing about it. It looked very intense.
Yeah. I think everything that happens in Final Fantasy 14
Looks
is
very
intense.
Yeah. I kind of just like watching their teaser videos, to be honest.
I mean, that's the Final Fantasy thing, right? The actual like videos have always they're like, you know, trailers and cutscenes and everything.
Yeah,
it's always been like,
some guy
wow,
with,
this
like,
is awesome. And then you actually get into the game and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
kind of. This isn't quite what I expected, but okay, sure.
I saw a guy reload a sword gun, and I was like, neat. I'm done.
You gotta be real careful when you reload a sword gun.
Yeah, it's sharp edges.
It's like half sharp edges. Anyway.
Double-edged gun.
So they're adding a bunch of stuff, but one of the things that's sort of causing consternation is they're adding 2 new races.
Mm-hmm.
The Vera, which are a previous race in the Final Fantasy universe. If you've played Final Fantasy 12, Fran in Final Fantasy 12 was one of their big bunny ladies. And they're also adding another one called the Rothgar. And yeah, as people say in the chat there, the issue that people have had is that these 2 races, so there's bunny ladies and
Lion men.
are locked to they're only bunny ladies and they're only lion men.
No lion ladies, no bunny men.
Yeah. And apparently the in terms of the bunnies, there's like, or in terms of the Vera, there's like, it's like a lore thing that like Vera men are like all separate somewhere else. And you like never see them in the game.
Okay.
And the other one, the Rothgar, I don't think they've talked about. But it's, I think I can show a picture of it maybe. Oh no, this is on the other, wait. Yeah, there's a picture of them.
Oh.
So it's, for some reason, the first thing that came to my mind when I think about this is like that thing like when you're like really little and it's like, you know,
all cats are
girls. Cats
and
are girls
dogs
and
are
dogs
boys.
are boys. That's how it
In this case,
works.
all lions are boys and all bunnies are girls.
Yeah. The dumb part is Final Fantasy 14 already has like a cat race in it that used to be locked to one gender, and then in the update like a while ago they made them so they could be male or female. So they they already have a cat race. I guess they just, I mean, everyone likes cats, but so yeah. Unfortunately, if you want to be a big burly cat, you can't.
Oh man, yeah, a big burly cat.
If you want to be a big
awesome.
burly cat lady, you can't. And if you want to be
great.
a bunny boy, you cannot either.
I mean, I'd also be cool with a big burly bunny boy.
Mm.
Like, I think some different body types would be really cool.
Well,
I mean, I'm not going to play this game regardless, so...
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure just in, in general, there aren't a lot of different body types represented in Final Fantasy XIV.
I
feel like it's...
probably not.
They're pretty much... I mean, there's, little... There's... Yeah, they... But, big burly bunny boy.
Oh, right. Yeah, Pokemon starter.
I'm just imagining when I hear big burly bunny, what I imagine is the Looney Tunes of just the huge bodybuilder rabbit with a carrot as a cigar. What do you want, bub? So it's it's just one of these things where they showed the Vera earlier, and everyone was like, then they only showed female versions. People were like, so can you have them in both? And they were super bummed about it. They didn't say anything. And then they've now released the full trailer and released this other race that are only male. So I don't know what.
Yeah, I'm seeing this article says that they were asked about the possibility about the male Vera during a Q&A session, and they got told they couldn't comment. You'd have to wait until the Weekend Tokyo event. Mm-hmm. Which, unfortunately, a non-comment when you have a question like that honestly sounds like a possible yes.
Yeah. So
I could see some some hype being thought, and then definitely some disappointment coming from that.
Yeah. So
on top of the standard.
I guess this means now they've headed it off. So now nobody will be drawing pictures of bunny men or cat ladies.
I hate to tell you this, Paul, but I think people have
because
already done that before.
I'm assuming that all of those pictures were based on Final Fantasy 14 canon.
No, I'm pretty sure cat ladies have been around for a long time.
I mean, Final Fantasy 14 has been around for a long time too.
I think for longer.
Oh.
I think for even longer. I'd say the beginning of DeviantArt, maybe even before that.
Okie dokie smoky. So yeah, we talked a little bit about Epic's store. I mean, we talked about it last week that Epic has had some teething issues with their store with some possible privacy violation stuff that's somewhat questionable. But they've also been talking about how they're going to moderate their store. Because, of course, right now, the Epic Game Store is got a pretty small catalog. Mm-hmm. To the extent that they only recently even added, search capability. Because they didn't need it. Because there were, enough games that you could just kind of see them in one screen. Now they have search capability, and they've got a lot more games. But they still don't have, Steam has however many thousands of games.
Every day. And
they've talked about how they're going to be opening the Epic Store up more, which is of course interesting because if you don't know, the big draw with the Epic Store is that they're taking quite a bit lower cut than any of the other stores. They're giving 88%.
I thought the big draw was that it wasn't Steam, but yeah,
I remember
that now.
But part of the cut for developers is that you get to keep, so they're only taking a 12% cut instead of 30%, which is what Apple and Steam and Android and everybody else does. So obviously that's kind of tempting. They said they're going to have, they're going to be opening it up they're going to be they're going to be like allowing people, not just the sort of games that Epic is specifically going after, but they're going to allow people to submit their own games and stuff. But they've committed to being a very to it being a curated experience, supposedly by real people, which is good. Although with all this talk about the Google thing and various things talking about the idea of the algorithm versus or an algorithmic solution rather than real people solution, it's important. It's like having a bunch of real people looking at things doesn't eliminate the possibility that there's going to be things that slip through the cracks and problems and stuff. And obviously...
But neither does the algorithm.
Oh, no, it doesn't. That's true.
So...
But I feel like it often is kind of... in the same way that companies will be like, don't worry, the algorithm will fix it. Consumers tend to be a little bit like, the more people are looking at it, the better. Which... at a certain point, I think is not necessarily the case. Like, it doesn't necessarily solve all your problems.
No.
There's all sorts of larger considerations, but it's definitely a positive thing. And having some combination of the two seems like the way to go. Like, I liked the thing that Steam was talking about in terms of trying to deal with review bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Where what they'll do is they have an algorithmic thing that basically flags games that are getting review bombed or getting what seem like review bombs.
Yeah, they're getting
unusual
a lot of
activity.
reviews or unusual
but
activity.
then that goes to a real person to actually look at it
to see if that's actually the
So,
case or if that game just sucks.
The combination of them working together seems like the way to go rather than the sort of the what is often the solution, which is like the algorithm does its thing with very little oversight, and people have to complain in order to actually get a real person involved, which is unfortunate.
I wonder if they have an algorithm for that. Because enough people complain about needing a real person. The algorithm's like, oh, okay, fine.
That's funny. Yeah, the algorithm is like, nope, that's not a problem. I have algorithmically determined that is not something you have to be concerned about. Please go about your business. All right. Cuphead is coming to Switch.
Yeah, that was a big deal during that Indie Direct.
Yeah.
It was what they started with, too.
And they have committed, or not committed, but they have clarified that it's not going to be like a easier thing.
They've clarified that it's going to be exactly the same.
It's going to be exactly the same as it is on the other things. I guess because, the Switch is easy games for babies. People are like, oh, your guys are gonna make an easy version of the Cuphead thing.
Well, I think it's one of those things of like when you bring a game to a new platform, sometimes if there were tweaks to be made or anything, that's the time in which people make them, and then maybe they put them out to the other things. Like they talk about adjusting and like balancing stuff, and they've said that they're not going to do that because they want people to play the game as it was released and as it was intended. And it's just like, okay, that's their right to do that.
Yeah.
But to me, it just sounds like, no, we just want you to know we're not changing anything about the game. We're not. Yeah. If you've been playing the game for a while and you're like, hey, I think this is kind of unbalanced or this is whatever, this is not the point in where we're fixing it. We're just bringing it over here.
And but this would be your first opportunity to play Cuphead in a sort of mobile fashion, so that's cool. And I believe the vast majority of stories, of articles that have reported about this have included pictures of broken
Broken switches.
included pictures. Oh, it doesn't come up, but included pictures of like a switch broken in half. So there's that too. You'll have lots of opportunity to break your Switch.
Yeah. See, the thing I actually thought was more interesting about Cuphead coming to the Switch was in the Nindie Direct, they specifically thank Microsoft for helping them with that.
That's
and
interesting.
That shows like that they have more of a partnership going on, and we kind of already knew that with the cross-platform stuff that they were doing, where they were basically taunting Sony for not allowing cross-platform with Fortnite. But that is just kind of this helps speculate the idea of will Xbox Live come to the Switch, because that's been a rumor that's been floating around, or what other games that were exclusive to Xbox will come to the Switch.
It's like they that's like a little mention in this story, and I really wanted to find out more about that aspect. It is, like, according to the developers of Cuphead, Microsoft literally was like, "Hey, do you guys want? We're like super into indie games right now. Do you guys want to bring your game to the Switch?" Which is like, if you think it's just like a totally bizarre thing for them to be hearing, but I guess it's the enemy of my enemy kind of thing.
Well, I mean, they I think the response they said was that it was like being told, like, as a kid, when you remember like Sega and Nintendo being like really big platforms, and now you get to put your game on one of them, because you can't really do it with Sega now. So it's was a thing for them to be like, heck yeah, of course, why wouldn't we do that? It's like the dream, my childhood dream type thing.
Yeah. So crazy. But yeah, the idea that I'm interested to sort of, I wonder if there's been other stories about this that I just haven't noticed, but the idea of Microsoft actually actively helping somebody release a game on what is ostensibly a competing console. Although I think from Microsoft's perspective, and I think they're right, is that they're only competing in a sort of orthogonal way. Like, they're competing in the sense of they're competing for like your screen time.
Yeah.
But like I feel like there's not I think Microsoft is smart in realizing that the actual like overlap in the way that people use the consoles is quite different. So
I mean, most of the people I follow make fun of the Xbox in the first place, so I can't speak to how Xbox users are actually, but I think Nintendo's definitely opening up a lot more stuff. Like, I've seen it brought up in the chat about Crypt of the Necrodancer Zelda, Cadence of Hyrule.
Right.
That was what they ended that Nindie Direct with, and that was a big deal in the sense of, yeah, sure, Nintendo's done like Hyrule Warriors and some other stuff that has been bigger studios, but this is the first indie studio that they've given a large property to. Not like, from my understanding, it's not like a Zelda game so much as it's a Crypt of the Necrodancer game, but it does have the Zelda characters in it, and that's a big deal. That Nintendo went to them to say, "Can you do this thing?" Or I think they were asking if they could do some DLC with Zelda in their game, and they were like, "How about actual game?"
Yeah, I mean, and historically, obviously, Nintendo has been extremely protective of their IPs to the extent of, to the point of sort of paranoia in some cases.
They have been. I mean, a lot of that, from what I understand, spins off from what happened with the CDI games or the Super Mario Brothers movie. And now we have there's talk about a Mario movie. Yeah,
there's like a bit of a fool me once.
We've got Detective Pikachu coming out, which is a Pokemon Company thing, but Nintendo is involved in the Pokemon Company. They had Mario and Rabbids, and that did very well with Ubisoft. So I believe they're also still working on that theme park. I feel like Nintendo is allowing for more of their IP to be used or to be licensed out. Probably in still some restrictive terms, but The indie game is the thing that gets me.
Yeah.
That's not the thing I would have expected to have seen.
So you people out there who are making like Super Mario Brothers ROM hacks, maybe someday Nintendo will like officially allow you to do your thing, and you won't just get cease and desist letters at some point.
Maybe. I feel like that's much further in the future.
Probably, yeah. Shang Tsung is coming to Mortal Kombat 11, which might not be surprising to you, because Shang Tsung, of course, was the bad guy from the first Mortal Kombat. He was the main bad guy, and then he has appeared in many other ones. But what's great is that he's being played by he's being played by the guy who played Shang Tsung in the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, which is this wonderful like
That was so long ago.
But it's just this wonderful like circular, because of course part of what was innovative about Mortal Kombat originally was that it used digital pictures of real actors
Really?
for the game to do all the animation and stuff. So I feel like there's a cool somehow the fact that it went from like digital digitized versions of real actors, and then there was a movie with real actors that weren't involved in the original video game, and then now 25 years later, Mortal Kombat 11 has a now back to one of the people who was in the movie. I don't know. I thought that was fun. Also, yes, it's been 25 years since the Mortal Kombat movie. Well, it had the best tagline. Right. It took 7 days to create the world. It will take 7 days to destroy it. Easy come, easy go.
I mean, that
was the
seems
trailer.
Pretty equal. Like, I would assume it would take less time to destroy something than to make it. But I guess I'm not sure that's easy going. 7 whole days. That sounds like a lot of work. A lot of things to break.
A lot of things to do, yeah.
A lot of breaking. There's no weekend in there.
I know.
7 days straight.
That's true. It's 6 days. The 7th day is the
day of rest.
It's the sleepy day.
Sleepy day.
That's the day when Shao Kahn rested after smashing. He was like, I'm tired of smashing. I get a rest. I feel like the original Mortal Kombat movie actually is entertaining on a certain level, in the same way as like the original Street Fighter movie is entertaining, in the sense of, just being ridiculous and having Raul Julia as M. Bison and and Van Damme as Guile. It's like, yes, let us choose. We need to get the muscles from Brussels to be the all-American hero with a very, very thick Belgian accent. Anyway. Dota 2 is going to, and I believe this is actually something that's going on currently. So Valve has rolled out a smartphone companion app for Dota 2 that allows you to like keep track of tournaments and all that kind of cool stuff.
Sounds good.
But they've added a thing. So there's a thing in Dota 2 called shards, which are basically an in-game currency that are given to people who subscribe to the Dota Plus service.
Okay,
and they are gives you a bunch of various rewards.
So that's like an additional thing. That's not like you have to buy these separately. It's more of you subscribe to things, so we give you these.
Yeah.
On top of what you're actually
and once you're
paying for.
subscribed to the Dota Plus service, then it gives you a bunch of stuff, and then you also get these shards for like playing in games and completing objectives.
Okay.
And that kind of stuff. So they've added this thing where basically you can bet on Dota matches, like because this app allows you to keep track of all the matches that are currently going on, the pro matches, and so they've added this thing that allows you to bet on matches with your shards, a bet on the outcome of the matches, and they'll give you like the odds of them and stuff, and then.
Yeah, then you get your payout based on it's actually how gambling works.
Yeah, it is not like a little bit gambling. It is like literally actually gambling, like with odds and everything.
That's why I was asking if you could pay for these with real world currency, because that's generally the defining
they're in a
weasel around
like
they're getting out of this.
To me, I think they're like because again, so I don't think you can buy these with real world currency. Also, you can't get them back. You can't get money out. Which is generally like the big thing.
That's generally how you work around it not being gambling.
Although that's being highly questioned these days. Yeah. And what's sort of interesting about it is the way it's being the way it's being presented is more of like test your Dota skills. It's like test your Dota skills knowledge by by betting on who's going to by seeing if you can guess who's going to win in this particular match. In the in the aid of making you better at Dota, because that's what this whole Dota Plus service is supposed to be about, is like it tracks your performance and you can track your, and so in the spirit of getting better at Dota, can you recognize the better players versus the not good players
through betting?
And how you illustrate that is by betting on which one you want. So
wait,
like it's definitely gambling. Let's not be clear. You're not necessarily gambling money. It's definitely gambling.
Does this app give me an achievement if I gamble successfully? Because it feels like it might.
Yeah.
With that kind of.
Also, apparently, you can make fantasy Dota leagues of like your favorite Dota players.
I mean, that sounds fun.
And then also bet on
that
there.
Second part I'm less okay with, but that first part sounds kind of fun, in the whole same sense of like a fantasy league, football or hockey team or whatever. I don't know that I think somebody's better at hockey if they can tell which team is going to win better through gambling predictions. So I feel a little like I don't believe them with that kind of marketing. But sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Like somebody in the comments says like, "Hey guys, you know how loot boxes are slowly going away because it's considered gambling? What if we just did gambling?" It's like, why put all this loot boxy stuff in there? Why don't we just gamble? But anyway. Yeah, basically, I mean, obviously with all these things, there's this bizarre situation where like the more sort of obfuscations you can do, like the fantasy league stuff, or the using shards rather than money, or doing the, trying to sort of put multiple layers of different interesting things on top of the gambling, to try and sort of obfuscate what you're doing. But yeah, it's gambling.
I mean, that's usually
gambling isn't like inherent. I don't know if it's like inherently bad. It's just in some ways this is more. In some ways, I could see this as being more kind of honest. Like it's not in like with loot boxes. There's the thing of like doing it and then like a big spread. Sparkly thing comes up, and you're like, "Yay! I get to do the thing."
That's how slot machines work.
Whereas this is more just like, this is like you're putting the money down, or you're putting the shards down, or whatever, and watching the outcome of this game, and the game was happening anyway. I don't know. Somehow it seems a little more sort of honest, I guess. They're not They're not doing all the sort of
trying to hide it.
Well, they're not doing like all the like bright colorful explosions and whatever to try and sort of distract you somehow. Maybe they are, but I don't know.
Well, we'll see how, what kind of...
Sports gambling versus casino gambling?
Yeah. I feel like how this plays out depends on what kind of backlash they get, and then how future laws have been, because, like, it is a thing where there are different areas of the world who don't allow for specific things with loot boxes. It's why in certain places they have to put percentages up at the very minimum, or if you put certain things in your game, you can't sell them to people who are under 18 anymore, and that will shape things over time.
And I think someone in the chat was saying, and I think part of, I think an aspect of that keeps them kind of safe is that I don't think you can buy these shards with real money.
Yeah.
I think like you get them when you're subscribed to the service, but then also but you also have to like do in-game things to get them and stuff. So if you can't put real money into the system to keep it going after you've lost all your shards or whatever, that puts a real cap on the possible downside, I guess.
As long as you can't do that thing where you can basically open up a whole bunch of accounts in order to get them and then transfer them to one account,
I guess.
Then that's a workaround on that. But then okay.
At that point, you're, I guess, putting a lot of roadblocks in the way of people doing that. So that's good, I guess. All right. Last story about ways that people buy video games, because apparently that's all we're talking about this week.
There's a lot of news about it.
There was an interesting article on Kotaku about Steam. That's like the one storefront we haven't really talked about yet, and about this idea that how Steam has always operated is basically they like implement a thing and then kind of wait for people to complain about it, or like they implement a thing that they think is a good idea and they just kind of do it, and then if people complain about it, then they try to fix it or whatever. And they're saying, and so they sort of, and this article, this was an interview with somebody from Valve, was talking about how that's worked reasonably well for them as a system. It allows them to, implement changes fairly quickly and stuff. But obviously, as the Steam store has scaled up, it is starting to become not a practical thing.
Well, I mean, it sounds like the store itself has scaled up, but the amount of people to maybe run that to make that continue to be a certain quality has not. And the interesting thing that I saw that makes a lot of sense to me, and they're saying is that like they do stuff where they add all sorts of features to Steam, and they try to sort of get the info out, but obviously one thing that they have discovered over the years is that if there's somebody who's a game developer producing games for Steam, they produce a game, release it on Steam, do a whole bunch of stuff there, and then they're making their next game. They're not paying a lot of attention to what new features Steam is coming out with for like 3 years. Well, I mean, why would you? You've got a lot of work to do on your next thing.
Exactly. You're busy doing your own thing. You're doing something. So like, they will like, they have like a Steam blog and stuff, or they'll have like little announcements where they're like, hey, this has changed. But they're saying like they'll get like 500 views.
There are definitely more than 500 people on Steam.
Which, as obviously we talk about how hard it is sometimes to get out information to our viewers, and I can I can sympathize with this. How hard would it be for people to be like, when whatever, to let people know that like the new schedule is coming into play. If people only ever watched every like 3 years, they would probably miss whatever updates we were going to do, and they'd be like, why isn't CheckPoint on Mondays anymore?
I mean, my
Last
favorite,
time I looked, it was on Mondays. It's like, that was 2 years ago.
my favorite is actually seeing people who, because for the last several weeks, Beach has been on CheckPoint while Graham's been busy in the editing mines, and I've seen people live watching the show who've been like, who's the guy on the left? And I'm like, he's been around for a while in a variety of things. I have a hard time understanding how you've missed him. He's loud. He seems like an unmissable thing to me, but I guess it's possible.
To be fair, he's probably pretty unmissable, like, to you in particular. Like, you have a vested interest in keeping track of...
There's a number of people at the office who are very loud, and when they're all loud at the same time, I actually can't tell the difference. And they all mesh together at the same time, so it's even louder.
Beej is memorable. Yep.
He's memorable.
Memorable. So anyway, the basically this article, which was just sort of an interview with Val, was talking about how this how they've been working through this process, and Steam gets a lot of flack, and not rightly so, but that's what you get when you're the market leader for like 15 years, or however long they've been. They've
been around for a long time.
They've been around for a long time, and Steam now is quite different than it used to be. They have, they are changing with the times and adjusting things, and
they have trading cards,
and they do all sorts of different things.
Stuff.
Not to say that they couldn't be doing better, but it's interesting to sort of see their process, and that they are, and I feel like they have been accelerating their attempting to fix stuff. They're obviously the adult stuff is still something that they're struggling with, and I don't know how they're going to. I don't think there's any way that they can get around. I know for some reason all these different companies, I mean even Twitch, is loath to actually give specific guidelines.
Yeah.
I guess because then things will try and circumvent those guidelines, but
it's a thing that happens, yeah.
But I think that you gotta not only for people who wanna, not only but just to make sure that so that developers can feel reasonably secure in if you're making an adult-ish game or one that deals with adult subject matter, that you can start developing a game and know that in 2 years it will have some place to be sold, right? That they won't randomly change their policy.
It's why when games get translated or they're going through that process of being rated, you will see sometimes stories about how that game took out whatever thing because they were trying to get a T rating or whatever, because they don't want the M rating. It automatically cuts some of their demographic. It cuts the amount of people who can buy that game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and there's lots of storefronts
for reasons like this too, right? There's lots of storefronts that won't carry those.
They won't carry them just flat out, or especially adult only, but M games in particular too. So yes. Okay.
Yeah, what is this about?
So this is awesome. There's so Division 2 just came out a little while ago, and supposedly it's been really well received. Actually, it's been doing very well. The original Division, especially when it launched, it had various issues, but apparently the new one is quite good. They've sort of taken all the things that they learned from Division 1 and sort of kept it going.
Oh, good.
Which is nice.
That's what you should be doing.
Well, they do a thing like Destiny or whatever, where they sort of
Didn't.
went back to square one again.
Yeah.
But one of the things is, so this is a bug that people have found in the game. Well, it's not a bug in the game in the sense of like people's systems are bugging out. It's a bug in the map. There's a plane.
Yeah.
There's just like a untextured blank plane
Like someone's
sitting
like,
at the top of a staircase in a fairly critical location.
like a weird landing. Wow.
That
Okay.
and it blocks that staircase. But it's great because it looks like the kind of thing that, could be like a glitch in your game.
Yeah.
But it's just there. Like, it's not a glitch in the sense of your game is acting oddly. It's actually part of the map that has been added erroneously. So, like, it's always there. And you can, like, walk on it. And, like, you can go down because you can drop off of it. But you can't get back up.
No! That's what stairs are supposed to be for, going up and down.
Also, it's actually a trap because, well, it's sort of a trap because it's only actually visible from the bottom. If you look at it from the top, it's transparent because it has no texture on the top.
So if you go down.
So you go down,
no.
and then you turn around, and there's this thing behind you, and you can't get back up. Apparently, people have gotten, like, stuck.
Wow.
Or, like, a bad guy will, like, come around, and you can't get away from him. Or a bad guy will get stuck in it, and you can't go. It's right next to another stair. Yeah, like, you're not stuck. There's other staircases you can get to and stuff.
Right.
There are other ways. There's like a checkpoint up on the landing. There's like a thing that you're trying to get to. So it has come into play a fair amount. But it's just the fact that it just is such a wonderful, like, mundane. Like, normally when people say like there's like a glitch in the map of a game, it'll be like, the corners of polygons not coming together perfectly.
Yeah.
Or like there's like a lip or something that makes it so you can't get over it properly, or weird things like there are weird things on maps, but just a giant blank untextured polygon sitting in the middle of the staircase. There's something highly amusing about it.
Yeah.
Buildings with invisible walls and places where you can fall through the world.
My favorite thing to see is characters in cutscenes glide past instead of having a walking animation. That's because it's just wrong.
Or the thing that you see a lot, I remember when Adam and I were playing Darksiders 3, you see this a lot, where somebody has to be in a place for a cutscene, and they mess up the thing where they, instead of teleporting them to the location, they actually move them to the location, and they miss it by like one frame. So the scene starts and the guy goes like, boom, appears, and then like all his hair and like cape and everything go like whoosh, because they're all physics still.
Yeah.
It's silly. All right, and finally,
One last story.
in highly amusing things, this is a great idea that I don't know enough about Dota or GTA to do it, but I love this idea. Speedrunner Hugo One is he's a GTA San Andreas speedrunner. Presumably very, very good at the game. If he's a speedrunner streaming, I'm assuming he's not a rookie speedrunner. But he set up a script where basically doing like Twitch plays the cheat console. So essentially, he's trying to speedrun the game.
Mm-hmm.
But his Twitch chat can type in cheats into the game to do stuff like change gravity, or like spawn objects, or.
So they're trying to stop him.
And they're basically messing with him over the course of the game. somebody did a code that blows up all the cars. One fan was able to use a code to spawn a tank that perfectly blocked him while he was trying to do a high-speed chase. So he does it like as a you have to like get, that's like, it sounds really, he does it as like you have to effectively get currency in his stream. I don't know how he does the
Probably it.
I don't know how maybe it's like bits or something, but
Yeah, I could see it being a cheer with like a command or something. I'm not sure if it says.
But anyway, it's a super neat idea. I really dig the sort of like I remember playing like Choice Chamber was super fun. I wish the game of Choice Chamber was a little bit better than it was, but the audience participation part of like Choice Chamber was super neat. Or Cluster Truck is also really good.
Yeah, there's a couple of Steam games that allow for the audience to do things. That a lot of people will play because it allows for that audience interaction.
Yeah, but it finding the right sort of thing where it's like audience interaction, but of course, as we've talked about, the latency aspect. So there's sort of different ways you can set it up. But Dead Cell says Twitch integration too. Yeah, it's the more that kind of stuff is super neat. I am definitely in favor of cool, and I mean Twitch has been sort of trying to push different ideas for that. As with a lot of Twitch things, I feel like it's slightly half baked right now. They're like, we can make it so games will have more information about them, like Overwatch and Dota, and those two games for the last 2 years have been the only two. Or League and Overwatch are the two games that actually have like more information about them, and no other games have ever been added to that. I don't know if they're working on it or what, but
well, I mean, a lot of the Twitch overlay extra things, I think they rely on other people to make that content more than they make that content. So
yeah, I mean, there are some interesting overlay stuff. The MTG overlay isn't a Twitch thing. That's just a Fugi being awesome thing. Fugi happens to work for Twitch, but I don't.
Yeah, that was not part of his
it's
job
not.
to make.
It's not
That was
like
a
an
thing.
official Twitch thing.
No, that was just a thing he did himself.
But just Fugi things. Indeed. So yeah, I think that was all of the news that talking about. As we talked about last week, with with GDC and C2E2 and PAX East. There's quite a few sort of big video gamey type conventions coming up. So if nothing else, even if they're not like announcing things, all the PR people are like really
Doing
tired.
things. Yeah.
And so there's less actual like news coming out.
Yeah, it's more checking out events, seeing what, like, because like PAX East always has like the indie mega booth and stuff there, so it's not necessarily new indie games, but some of them will be, or will at least get that press attention that they maybe haven't gotten before. There are some announcements that do happen during those kinds of weekends because they're considered kind of big press times as well, though. So
The
who knows?
yeah,
We're
and
gonna get April. E3 is getting close, so we're gonna hit that period where we get some news for a little while. There'll be nothing for a bit because we'll be hitting that ramp up, and then there'll be a flood of it around E3, before, during, and after.
Yeah, E3 has sort of keeps spreading out and becoming more kind of blurry around the edges.
Well, there's a
of
lot
like
of
what's
places not going.
like what's considered to be E3 and what's not. There's like E3 the convention, and then there's E3 the sort of state of mind. E3 E3
The news.
the news cycle. Like the E3 news cycle is about 3 weeks long,
Yeah.
whereas the E3 event itself is only a week, or even less than that.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of companies not even participating this year, so it's like who knows what kind of news cycle we'll get out of it, or
Yeah.
if they'll all just do it before or after, or during and just not there.
I just realized that I actually don't know how long E3 is. That's where we are right now.
I thought it was supposed to be like 3 days, but it's like in the middle of the week. It's like Tuesday to Thursday.
Right, but it's like
There's, like,
it's
some
like
stuff
Tuesday
before.
to Thursday, but there's like pre E3 and post E3 stuff. I don't actually know what's considered to be E3 itself.
I don't know. I don't go there. I just watch the internet, and the internet tells me
So
stuff.
you know the E3 was in our hearts the whole time.
That's not a good place for anything to be. Your heart has a very small amount of space, and blood needs to be there. And out. It needs to come in and out. It should not just stay there. Your blood should never just stick around in your heart. It should be moving at all times.
That's good. That's good advice. If your blood is just sitting around in your heart, being lazy, get it working.
I've watched the anime. I know.
There was a discussion in the chat before the stream about how more teaching should be done via anime. It works.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Let's welcome some more people.
All right. How do you pronounce that one?
Possibly 3i? Or possibly EI. I don't know.
Both of them seem to work.
Triple I.
I-E-Y-E. You've just described.
Maybe
Subscribed.
that's just 4 eyes.
4 eyes. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's pretty clever.
Anyway, thank you for subscribing. Simon Ark is a new subscriber. Welcome.
And an anonymous gifter has subbed 5 people in the channel. If these are your names: Beltshazar98, Atrides42, OKB1, Babarad, and Rakario.
Yay.
You have been gifted a sub. Please come to the principal's office to collect.
Ouch. Wheelay for 25 months.
Chef Steven for 50 months. Also, it really doesn't help that even if you're really good internet data caps are still a thing. That's true.
It's true. This is
That-
talking about the
Stadia.
the data caps. I feel like that's something that is not adequately appreciated by a lot of video game companies. What with the 100 gigabyte downloads?
I imagine they don't have caps.
It's like, well, here at the Microsoft campus, we've never had a problem, so I don't see what the problem is. Edgar Ware for 29 months. Thank you very much.
Snowbound for 30 months. Welcome back.
Doc Laza for 2 months. 2 months? I don't know. Still trying to find out these Prime shenanigans. Well, I'm sure you've been here for longer, and that's even better.
Yeah, I also believe Forever Backwards has been here for longer than just subscribed, but welcome back anyway. Forever.
E-Block for 14 months says, ooh, late to ChillPoint. Gonna have to check out the beginning on the VOD. Please do.
Cheesemo for 11 months. I'm back. Welcome.
Welcome. Vegetalis 4 for 21 months. Thank you very much.
Carbonal Cookie for 42 months. This one is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. So that's a nice pop culture reference.
Yeah. Earthen 1 with the 51 bits. Thank you very much.
Samwalk with 32 months. Thanks.
H Paper for 8 months says, boop.
Abaddon 2501 for 27 months. They cannot wait to see Yoshi's Crafted World.
Excellent. Well,
That's good.
I'm looking forward to that as well. Speaking of which, we should talk about that. If you don't know already, we are doing a revamp of the stream schedule. The info is on all the main info is in Graham's YouTube update. So
Yeah,
check
if you go
that
to
out.
the Loading Ready Run YouTube channel, there is a fancy update video of Graham walking around with some overlaid graphics that tell you information.
And if you look at the calendar or the live page, it's all there too. I don't think there's anything on the events page right now, but that's because there's nothing on the events page because the events page isn't working properly.
Oh, is that what's wrong with it?
Or at least James was saying that he tried like 4 or 5 times to add
Oh.
events, and it would kept eating them. So
Oh no.
it made him sad.
Yeah, it would be. I know how much James doesn't like to have to redo his work because no one likes to do that.
But anyway, just to give a brief thing, some shows are moving around.
This is one of them.
This is one of them. So CheckPoint is going to be moving to Thursdays
At 1 p.m.
at 1 p.m. So it'll be a little earlier, and it'll be on Thursdays.
So everyone
so-
will be a little tireder.
Either a little earlier, it's either like way earlier or way later, maybe. Think of it as being like 4 or 5 days early.
Yeah. Think of it as when the news drops on Tuesday, it now doesn't get left all the way until next Monday.
It's a good
Maybe.
point.
I mean, it seems like most gaming news happens kind of earlier in the week, not necessarily always like at the end of the week. So that might be better for.
Yeah, I
news.
guess we'll have to see. I mean, we've done it on different days over the years, but anyway. So yeah, it'll be on Thursday, and we've got a couple of new shows that we're doing that we're very excited about. One of them is that we're doing our legacy type games, like Pandemic Legacy.
Yeah, but it's not just games with the name Legacy in them.
Yeah, it doesn't have to have the name Legacy in it, but like games that are sort of continuing games that
Start one game, go into another game, continue play states.
we are those are going to be have their own show separate from AFK, which will be every other week. So that means that you're gonna get twice as many of those games, plus you're gonna get a quarter more AFK.
AFKs. Yeah.
So that's great for both things, assuming you like AFK type stuff.
Then we have
And I've heard a couple of people ask about it. Hero Quest, I believe, has been talked about. It's probably not one that we would just like play the whole way through, but we might use it as like a gap filler or something.
good to see that.
Because it is certainly not like heavily legacy, but it does have continuing aspects to it. And the other thing, of course, is that the long play series that we're going to be doing, which I think it's still TBD.
Yeah,
in terms of the name,
Still discussion.
there's a couple
on that name
of
going
names
on.
have been kicking around.
I
but-
still like people calling it TBD in James's voice. It's funny to me.
Whatever it gets end up called, which we'll figure out in the next week, presumably.
Have to.
I am going to be playing it. I'm going to be playing Yoshi's Crafted World starting on Monday, April 1st. Which, so I think at 2:00. So I think I'm going to be doing it at the time when we would normally be doing.
Do you know what 3 days you've chosen for the week?
I believe it is Monday, Thursday, Friday, maybe? I could probably look that up.
So
I
the
should know.
way that stream works is there'll be one person with a game that they're gonna play, presumably all the way through, unless it's really honks. Then then maybe not.
Wednesday.
But then they're gonna pick 3 times over the week for 3 hours that works for them. And once they've picked in those 3 times, that is going to be every play session for them until they're done the game.
Yeah. But the idea is that with such a sort of intense schedule, that, playing it 3 times a week, for one thing, for the longer type games, it'll allow us to actually finish the game
A lot
in a
faster,
reasonable amount
yeah.
of time. But also because, what'll happen is different members of the crew are going to be playing different games. And of course, different members of the crew have different schedules. And so rather than trying to choose, trying to figure out, 3 times during the week that everybody will always be free, which obviously is almost impossible.
Yeah.
What we've done, our plan is that those streams will float a little bit. An individual game will sort of be locked in for specific times during the week. So a certain player will be committing to playing, in my case, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But when we switch to a different game, those days might change a little bit.
Yeah, the days might change, or at least the times might change.
Yeah.
And this lets us do things like people who do have outside jobs can come play their games in like the evenings or the weekends, whereas they don't have to commit to the mornings. Or people like Paul or I, who maybe already have this thing where we're working anyway, can do it. Or like it would upset my workflow if I streamed on like the Thursday morning, so maybe I don't do that day, or like whatever. It works better for us to just have that be floating.
And so for me, so I'm going to be playing on Monday at 2:00, on Wednesday at noon, and then on Friday at 10 a.m. So the Friday is going to be kind of when Now Kiss was. Just I figured I might as well do it when when people might be expecting a show anyway.
Yeah.
Although it's not going to be.
I mean, to be honest,
I don't know what's going to happen in Yoshi's Crafted World, but I'm assuming there's not going to be like a deep visual novel romance that happens.
Probably not. But I can see a lot of people choosing Mondays and Fridays to do those streams because we have large chunks of time within there.
And then,
available.
And for in the case of Yoshi's Crafted World, we don't, the game isn't out yet, so we don't know how long it is. We're assuming that it is roughly the same length as Woolly World.
I think that would be a fair assessment. On that.
In which case, it'll probably be I'll be playing again on the Monday. And that will probably, and the nice thing about the Monday is pretty clear, so I might go a little long on the Monday. Like I might just sort of play on the Monday until it's done, assuming that I'm fairly near the end.
With games like those are usually divided up into worlds and whatnot, so you might have a fairly clear idea about how fast you can get through it by your second stream even.
So anyway, so that's the plan. And obviously, we know that the response from people, from the YouTube video and stuff has been very positive. So thank you very much for that. And lots of people excited to see the new shows and the moving around shows and stuff. If the new schedule doesn't work out so well for you, sorry about that. But such is the way. Perhaps if your favorite show has moved to a time that you can't watch it as well, maybe another show will be there.
And there's always VODs.
VODs. Heather's putting up the VODs super fast. Sometimes before we're actually done, it is already somehow uploaded to YouTube. I don't know how that's possible.
Yes, you know perfectly well how that's possible. You're the one who invented the time travel. Don't act like you're innocent.
Lots of cool stuff to keep an eye on in the near future. But in the meantime, thank you all for watching. Oh, and by the way, so there's no Dice Friends tonight or next week. We're taking a little bit of a hiatus right now just because lots of people are out of the office and various things. Dice Friends will be back. And I believe we'll be back when it comes back, it'll be back on Monday. But we don't necessarily Dice Friends don't feel has to go directly from one one game to another. We're okay with taking a little bit of a break.
We'd rather make sure we have a game prepared and up for what we want to do, and that we have people around than to make that consistent.
So that's what we're doing. Thank you all for watching, and we'll talk to you later.
Mr. 68-Bit Dreams, Thank you for subscribing, both of you.
Yay!
Yay!
Come in under the line. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye.